Reward them. Young children, before age 7 to 10, it is not mandatory. But it's a great training ground. And we did that. The insane don't fast. The ill and those whose recovery would be delayed. Those who are traveling. A person who has left Islam. A woman on her menses. Or a woman who is suffering from postnatal bleeding. Breastfeeding or pregnant mothers who fear harm to themselves or their baby. Yes.
Can you define traveling?
Traveling, yes. Traveling, according to fit, is if you are traveling more than 40 miles out of your city. Now, hold on a minute. You know what's a hardship for you. Nowadays, we're not traveling on camels. At least, if there is anybody here that has a camel, invite me over because I've always wanted to ride a camel. I've always wanted to ride a camel. So, we're not on camels. So, you know, if I'm going to drive 40 miles, I think I can fast. But I'm just telling you what the fix says. If you're going to get an airplane and you're going to go from the East Coast to the West Coast to California, and you're going to have all this time, you know what's a hardship. The question is this a hardship for me? No. And if it's a hardship, take advantage of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's offer. And say, Alhamdulillah. Praise you, Allah. Subhanallah. I'm traveling today. I'll make it up.
So it's 3 hours you go to New York, in plane.
Right. So, let's try to keep moving because I do want everybody to set goals today. So if we could keep moving. The conditions of a valid fast is that you must have an intention. You must refrain from the things which break the fast. Now, I wrote this in Arabic somewhere because I can read it better than Arabic than I can in English. Nawatu Soma Khadin and Adai Ramadani. Can somebody help me with the rest? This is the Arabic transliteration for what is said by Arabs. You do not have to say it in Arabic. All you got to do is say, I intend to fast this day in order to perform my duty towards Allah in the month of Ramadan of the present year. So every single day at sunset, you make an intention that you're going to fast. Okay? And if you want to take a picture of this, you can get some of your Arab friends to help you with the Arabic.
Quick question.
Or you can just make it easy and do it in English. Yes, brother?
Quick question. Can you do it when you wake up in the morning to eat before you start your fast?
It's recommended in the fit. The way the Prophet did it is he did it at sunset each day because that's the beginning of the day.
Did you actually say this, or, I mean, you're obviously intending to fast the next day. You have to say it?
This is the sunnah. You don't have to do it. It's the sunnah. But you do need to make a niyyah. I'm fasting for the sake of Allah. Just like you make a niyyah when you pray. You do need to make it. Now, some scholars say that Allah knows the niyyah is in your heart when Ramadan starts. But look, if I consciously, remember the month of consciousness, if I consciously every single day say, I'm going to fast for the sake of Allah today, I have just remembered Allah. What a novel concept. One of the things that I'm required to do in the month of Ramadan. It's my shadow that. Oh no. Ooh, I saw something go behind me and I was like, whoa, consciousness. Okay. I love it. It must be made nightly or prior to dawn. This is what the scholars say. Okay, so there's the ruling right there. All right. Things which invalidate a fast. Some of these things will be controversial. Folks, I don't want to get into controversy today. I want to empower you to have the most wonderful Ramadan you've ever had. If you have questions, if I don't answer them sufficiently, Imam Tariq, you can talk to me afterwards. They're far greater scholars than I am in the community. So if you deliberately eat, now I want to tell you, the first year I was fasting, I was looking for a car. And I walked into the place and they had those little peanuts in a thing you put a quarter in and you get a handful of peanuts. And I didn't remember. And so I just got myself 25 cents worth of peanuts. And then of course I went like an idiot, like having convulsions trying to get these peanuts out of me. And then I learned later that I didn't really have to do that because I forgot. Okay, but don't forget on purpose, because that's not going to work. Allah knows if you're forgetting on purpose, all right? Not going to work. Smoking invalidates your fast. Dipping snuff or chewing tobacco invalidates your fast. I know you guys never thought of that, right? Rectal suppositories, according to most scholars and some of the schools, invalidate the fast if they have any kind of nutrition in them or food value, because that part of the body, the large intestines, absorbs anything from that that would be of food value. Okay? Intramuscular or intravenous injections. Now, the exceptions to that is medicine that does not provide nutrition. So the scholars in most schools say if you needed to have a minor surgical procedure, then that would be acceptable. Okay. Vomiting invalidates the fast, but not if you just belch up a little bit of food from your suhoor. I'm sorry to be so graphic here, but this is how we learn. There's no shame in Islam. If I ate curry this morning for suhoor, I promise you I might belch up a little bit of it because it's so many spices that I might taste a little bit of it. That's not sufficient for you to say, oh, well, I'm off today. All right. And then the next one is sexual intercourse. That invalidates the fast, and I will talk later on about the expiation for that, which you'll be surprised to know that because of it being a right on a man, if a man and a woman does it, the woman is not punished, but the man is. And I'll give you that punishment in another slide. Overusing water during wudu. So you can't stand in the shower and go, yeah. I think I got a drop. Can't do that, folks. And you know, I just want to say that according to the scholars, people used to make a full ghusl with 3 liters of water. In the desert, they didn't have showers, the Sahaba, that they could stand under for 45 minutes, lather up with Bed and Bath and Body Works, whatever you call it, Bed, Bath and Beyond, I don't know. Anyway, one of those soap shops, and just have, what's it called? Body shop, whatever. They didn't have it. And sometimes ghusl was done with 3 liters of water, folks. Just keep that in mind. In addition to making up the fast, one must free, look at this, expiation for violating a fast day by sexual intercourse. In addition to making up the fast, one must free a sound Muslim slave. And you'll say, well, we don't have those anymore. Yes, we do. It's called human trafficking. There are Muslim slaves in the world today. Fast the days of 2 consecutive months, or feed 60 unfortunates just a little over a half a liter of food. So guys, this is about you. If you decide to exercise your right, this is the price that you pay. Well, I'll leave that up to the men to say whether it's worth it or not, but because that could be offensive to their wives. The woman is not obliged to expiate for that.
What happens if she approaches him?
This is what the scholars say. This is the way it works.
I'm not going to do it. I'm asking. Love's been questioning about Islam and been defending it. She's getting some kick out of this.
Things that do not break the fast. All right, listen up, folks. Absent-minded eating, like that little nuts I got out of that machine, 25 cents worth.
I read in the Quran, I read some surah, it is something mentioned about a woman and a husband and wife relationship, but I don't remember what was.
I just told you.
Yes, I read the meaning also.
Yes. I just told you, if the husband and wife has sexual intercourse, What does the husband have to do, folks?
Feed 60 people
Feed 60 people or free a
or
slave?
free a slave for 2 months.
And make up the days.
And fast for 2 consecutive months.
Fast for 2 consecutive months.
You said-
Now, I'm going to tell you
No,
something.
you
Put your
don't.
Viagra away during the month of Ramadan. Ain't nobody got time for all that. Because it's going to be hard to extol God for 2 months when you're out of juice. More ways than one.
And by
So-
the way, it's during the day.
Let's stay on purpose here. Okay. A nocturnal emission does not break the fast. But now, we all need to understand that that is something that happens without any assistance. And I'll leave it at that. Accidental ingestion of water during ablution. Saliva. The arrival of dawn when one is having their last bite. So, I'm at Suhoor, and I just took my last teaspoon of delicious curry. And I heard, Allahu Akbar, Allah. Do I have to spit it out? No, just swallow it. Keep going. Involuntary acts invalidating the fast. Momentary insanity or insanity. Unconsciousness for a day. Menstrual or postnatal flow. The insane are not obliged to make up days. It's the mercy of Allah. Recommended measures while fasting. Pre-dawn meal called suhoor. Even if a slight glass of water, some dates. I personally don't do well eating a lot of food when I'm fasting. It makes me more hungry and doesn't make me feel good. I do much better if I just get up and drink water. And I'll drink a half a gallon of water usually. Then I sound like the ocean when I'm walking. Break the fast with an odd number of dates. If you don't like dates, you haven't got to do it. It's just another sunnah that you can do and get blessings for it. You can break the fast with water and make a dua. And here is the dua. Allahumma leka sumtu wa ala razkika aftartu. O Allah, for thy sake have I fasted, and now I break the fast with the food that comes from you. Alhamdulillah. Recommended measures while fasting. Generosity and charity. There will be more fundraisers in the month of Ramadan because of the blessing than any other month in the year. If you have it, give. Improve your relationships with family and relatives. Recite the Quran as much as possible and reflect on what you have recited. Break the fast with others. Perform ghusl if in a state of major ritual impurity before dawn. He who breaks another's fast earns the same reward as the one who fasted without diminishing the latter's reward in the slightest. So the more people you feed in the month of Ramadan, you get the same blessing that they got for their fasting in addition to yours. And that's why some of the Muslims that you see will feed 60 people a night in the month of Ramadan. And some brothers will do it too. Things to avoid: slander, lying, and foul language. Make this the month that if you do any of that, if your tongue is defiled with foul language, and I'm going to say it like this just to break it down a little bit. 4-letter words, sometimes 3-letter words joined with a 4-letter word. Sensual pleasures during daylight. I think you know what that means, right, everybody? Okay, alhamdulillah. Donating blood or bloodletting. Not a best time to do it, not highly recommended. Abuse, arguing. Making up missed fast days. Listen up, folks. if you have not made up fast days that you missed this year, you can only fast how many more days if Ramadan comes in on Saturday evening? You can do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, right? That's 4 days. So you can fast Monday and Thursday. Great idea. Now, you cannot delay until next Ramadan unless there's a valid excuse, such as illness or travel. If you delay until next Ramadan, one must pay just over half a liter of food to the poor for each fast day missed, in addition to making it up. So if you only have 4 days to make it up, get it made up, folks. Otherwise, this is the fiqh. This is the teaching of Islam. In order to make it up, you got to feed somebody what you would eat, and the scholars say that's 0.51 liters of food, plus you got to fast. Yes, sister.
How much money would you estimate is 0.5 liters of food like today?
I'm going to answer like this. A lot of masjids say $9, $10, $8. What would it cost you if you went out and bought a meal that was equivalent to what you would have eaten the day of your fasting? And that's how I calculate it. Now what I do is I go and I actually go to restaurants and have them make the food, halal food, and I take it to Paramore and feed the people myself, because I have some medical issues. If one delays until a second Ramadan, one must pay double this amount for each day. Folks, I want to tell you that a lot of people do not know this. If you do not do your fasting, it is incumbent upon your family member to make it up if you die. This is so important that you should communicate to your children and your family, by the way, I've got so many days. If something happens to me, would you please make it up for me? It's very, very important, folks. A lot of people do not know this. If one dies with unperformed fast days, which they could have fasted but did not, then each fast day is paid for by the responsible family member with either the food or by fasting for the deceased. So it's easy. If you have the money, you can just go feed the poor. But make sure that you make it up. Yes, sir.
Feeding the poor, does it have to be Muslim?
Does not have to be Muslim. Just feed the poor. Feed those that are less fortunate than you. If one dies and 2 Ramadans elapse, each fast paid for with double the food, so the amount of food that you would have eaten 2 days, or the family member can both fast a day and pay the amount of food for 1 day. That's what 0.51 liters means. Yes, brother.
Can you go back 2 slides, please? Real briefly. One more. Go forward one. One more. Where we got to the 0.51 liters, the very first slide I mentioned 0.51. Right there.
Right here?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Let me know when I can move, when you want me to move on.
Go ahead.
Oh, you're okay. Good. So let me just make sure. Did I cover all of this? Is everybody clear about this?
I have a question.
Yes, sister.
Like for most female, like during the month of Ramadan, certain time you have your period,
Yes.
and then is it compulsory for you to hold, like maybe you miss 3 days or 4 days? Is it compulsory for you to hold it?
You must make up the fast. Yes.
In case you don't, like you missed 3 days and then you didn't really keep the fast. So what next you supposed to do?
You must make it up before the next Ramadan. So ladies, you need to keep a record of how many days you miss fasting because of your menses. And then you need to make them up before Ramadan. If you don't, I've given you the rules. Yes, sister?
Sorry, and then the question is like, if I have days to make up, do I have to make it up by feeding the poor in the U.S. or could I send the money back home to my family?
You can send the money anywhere that you want to send it. Now, most scholars say that you should look after your own family and community before you look after another one. But the reality is you can do whatever you want to do as long as you do it. The most important thing, folks, is obedience to Allah and your intention. Because a lot of people don't know this. Voluntary fasting. 6 days of the month of Shawwal following Eid al-Fitr, the 9th and 10th of Muharram, on the full moon days of every lunar month, which are the 13th and the 2 days following. So the 13th, 14th, and 15th of the lunar calendar, okay? That's why they call us lunatics, because we follow a lunar calendar. That was supposed to be funny. Every Monday and Thursday, the first 9 days of Dhul Hijjah, during the inviolable months, Dhul Qa'dah, Dhul Hijjah, Muharram, and Rajab. The best fast days after Ramadan are those of Muharram, Rajab, and Sha'ban. And the day of Arafat, if not a pilgrim. I notice some of you are taking a picture, so I want to give you time. Did you get it, sister? I'll show you. Every day of the year except 2 Eids, it is offensive and unlawful. Now, I actually knew a person one time when I first became a Muslim who fasted for a year. Yeah. And this is not recommended. It's actually considered offensive. It's makruh. Because doesn't that contradict this? If Allah made it easy for you and now you're going to fast a year, is that not a contradiction? Yes, brother.
What was his intentions for fasting for a year?
He wanted to purify himself. But his wife, based on what I heard, it wasn't working. And I was seen as a counselor. That was not a gossipy statement. I was seen actually, I was sought to do counseling in that situation. According to his wife, that fasting a year didn't do a thing but make everybody in the house miserable. So, fasting to the point of mental or physical harm, fasting on Eids or the 3 days following them, the 30th of Sha'ban. Why can't you fast the 30th of Sha'ban? Because it's the day before Ramadan. Very good. And you cannot fast on Friday alone. All right, one more. Actually, that's it for today. Right. On this, now we're going to move to another part. Inshallah. Just bear with me a minute. Hopefully I'm going to be able to toggle and make this effective. Let's see if I do how I do on this. Now, how do I do it here, Mason? Yes, I'm sorry.
If you brush your teeth, does that break your fast?
If you don't swallow anything, it's not breaking your fast. I'll be right with you. We're going to pick up on something here. While Mason is doing that, I have written something on the board before I start here. Just, you can sort of get an idea. Even though you probably can't read this, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. These are just some ideas. You can do whatever you want to. And yes, I'm not an artist. That looks more like a spider web than it does a circle. But anyway, if I were to ask you to rate yourself on dhikr, you may say on a scale of 1 to 10, that's why I have 10 circles here. I am a 3. What would it take for me to be a 10? And that's a measurable goal. Let's say that I say, what are you on in terms of chastity? Well, probably we'll all say a 9. And then what would it take to be a 10? On night prayers, well, I never did one in my life. I'm not even a 1. Now, I'm hypothetically speaking. Upright character, avoiding distractions, daily sadaqah, fasting, salah. You can make up anything you want, but spiritually, where are you today? And what would it take to be a 10? So, we're going to move back to the tafsir today, inshallah, and there's a reason. In verse 68 to 71, verse 68 said, they said, call upon your Lord for us, that he may make plain to us what it is. He says, verily it is a cow neither too old nor too young, but it is between the two conditions. to do what you are commanded. They said, call upon your Lord, Musa, for us to make plain to us its color. He says, Allah says, it is a yellow cow, bright in its color, pleasing the beholder. They said, call upon your Lord, Musa, for us to make plain to us what it is. Verily to us all cows are alike. Sounds like a racist statement. And surely, if Allah wills, we will be guided. Musa said, he says it is a cow, neither trained to till the soil nor water the field, sound, having no blemishes in it. They said, now you have brought the truth. So they slaughtered it, though they were near to not doing. Now, I want to see if anybody can guess what the personality trait in this verse is. When somebody doesn't want to change, and they don't want to do something they know they're supposed to do. What is that called?
Stubborn.
What? Arrogant. It's stubbornness, but arrogance is the same thing. Thank you, my brother. We're going to talk about that today, inshallah.
Excuses.
We're going to talk about stubbornness, because I believe that stubbornness is really and truly the biggest spiritual disease facing our ummah. Because when you say, I know that the Quran says I'm supposed to do so and so, but I just can't do that. It doesn't mean you can't. Because if somebody held a gun to your head, I guarantee you would do it. It just means I won't, because I'm stubborn. And I'm defiant. And I'm arrogant. And I'm not going to do it. That's what it really means. I want to just keep it for results. The stubbornness of the Jews regarding the cow. Allah made the matter difficult for them because they were stubborn. Stubbornness, according to Merriam-Webster, a steadfast adherence to an opinion. Now we all know, those of us who are married, that spouses are never stubborn. A steadfast adherence to an opinion, purpose, or course of action in spite of reason, arguments, or persuasion. And teenagers are never stubborn.
Not at all.
Right?
No.
Right, teenagers? Absolutely not. Perfect little angels. Now, I chose some synonyms for the word stubbornness today for us to look at. Because my vision as a teacher is for you to walk out of here with something you can work with. That's my prayer every Sunday, and I know I probably missed the boat. But maybe I'll get the boat today. Synonyms: bullheadedness, hard-headedness, intransigence, mulishness, obduracy, obdurateness, obstinate,ness, opinionatedness, pertinaciousness, pertinacity, pig-headedness. How can a Muslim be pig-headed? Self-opinionatedness, self-will, willfulness. Now, if anybody's ever told you, particularly like your parents have told you, or your spouse has told you that this might be a part of your personality, take that as feedback. Feedback is the breakfast of the champion. When they tell you that, say, thank you for helping me discern truth from falsehood. Because I thought I was perfect until you told me that. So, be grateful for the feedback people give you if they give it to you in love, of course. I just love you to death, you little pig-headed thing. So, here's some related words to really help you relate to the world in which we live. Because that's the whole idea, is that when you walk out of here, you get juiced up because you relate to what we said, you reflected on what we said, and it means something to you based on this world you live in. So those people who are called anal retentive, those are stubborn people. I want this pot right here, and I've even labeled it. That's where it's supposed to go, and it's not supposed to be anywhere else. And I'm not stubborn. Retentiveness, adamancy, inflexibility, relentlessness, tenaciousness, sternness, narrow-minded, rigidity, cantankerousness, contrariness, defiance, and disobedience. Folks, if any of those things you believe are part of your personality, make this the month to change it. Because that's what happened to the Israelites. Do you feel like I'm teaching you something that will help you today, that you can apply? Stubbornness is one of the 7 basic character flaws of destructive personality traits. We all have the potential for stubborn tendencies, but in people with a strong fear of change, stubbornness can become a dominant pattern. No. Stubbornness is the tendency. I'm just thinking of various students I've had over the years that didn't think they were stubborn, but all of these words I'm saying today sort of remind me of the way they would express themselves. Stubbornness is the tendency to resist any form of change. Now let me ask you this. Does Islam enjoin us to change our condition?
Yes.
Right. If we're going to change from nafs amara to nafs lawama to nafs mutmainna, and we are stubborn, are we going to change?
No.
No, we're not. Refusing to change one's point of view, being difficult, and a resolute adherence to one's own ideas or desires. This is the way I have always been, and this is the way I am. You can either like me or you can love me. Anybody ever heard that one before? This is just who I am, and I ain't changing. I'm not stubborn. No, not at all. Stubbornness is essentially an entrenched resistance to change. That's what it is. One possessed with stubbornness is driven by a fundamental resistance to being forced to do or experience anything they do not want to do. No, I won't, and you can't make me. The suggestion of change is seen as a threat to these people. Stubbornness is the oversensitivity to the possibility of having sudden or unwanted change imposed. It is seen as a direct threat, even if the change in question is positive and in the person's best interest. When I was a Communication for Action trainer, I used to have a business training in South Africa called Communication for Action. It was modeled after my personal actualization training called I Am. And what we found is that the biggest challenge for the workforce was change. And let me just demonstrate this. Mommy won't mind if I use her. If I tell Mommy, you can't sit in that chair right there anymore. That chair has to be over there. She'll say, I'm having my chair right here. I'm old enough, I've earned this place, and I'm going to have my chair right here. How many people, if your boss tells you tomorrow you got to move your desk, is going to be happy? What's wrong? You guys don't love change? Now let me tell you, my wife was warned before she married me. This is exactly what they told her. If you don't like change, you should not marry that man, because just as soon as he gets comfortable, he will throw a spanner in the works. I thrive on change, people. I do. I love it. I absolutely live for change. It's the most exciting thing in the world for me to jump into the ocean of change. Because I know that if I change, I will experience something different. And if I don't change, I will never experience anything different. Like all character flaws, stubbornness involves the following components. As a therapist, I'm giving you a free session. There's no charge for this one. Stubbornness usually arises out of some early negative experiences, such as my father was in the army. This is just hypothetical. And we had to move a lot. And I hated moving, and I decided if I ever got where I could, I'd never move again. Or my parents never liked their job, and they always were moving to find a better job. misconceptions about the nature of self, life, or others, a constant fear and sense of insecurity, a maladaptive strategy to protect the self, a persona to hide all of the above in adulthood. The stubbornness of the Jews regarding the cow, Allah made the matter difficult for them. Allah mentioned the stubbornness of the children of Israel and the many unnecessary questions they asked their messengers. This is why, when they were stubborn, Allah made the decisions difficult for them. Had they slaughtered a cow, any cow, it would have been sufficient for them. As Ibn Abbas and Ubaidah have said, instead they made the matter difficult, and this is why Allah made it even more difficult for them. This is the kind of reflection that I want you to have. That's interesting, but that's wonderful. So, I have some more stuff I want to talk about here regarding stubbornness. Here it is. I just made all kinds of notes about stubbornness. And I'm sure everybody is excited about hearing about stubbornness because none of our family have it. Yes, sir. I'm sorry, Mom. Yes.
Is it bad to like change too much?
Give me an example.
Like if I like kept on changing my view on issues too many times, can that be bad? Or is it?
Well, here's what I think is important, Mom. As long as your changing views are in alignment with your fitra, as long as they are in alignment with what the essence of Quran and Sunnah, then you're not changing in a negative direction. If you are changing in a destructive direction, you know, for example, let's say that you're a very positive person, and all of a sudden you start being self-deprecating, like where you